What is going on YouTube and welcome to another call on Tyrone. It's your host Tyrone. And of course we got Vlad in the building. And Vlad, you guys know who Vlad is. We got Vlad in the building. How you doing tonight,
I'm doing great tonight. Hope you're doing well too.
Vlad? Hey man. How was Thanksgiving? How was Thanksgiving doing for you?
It was good and quaint, just sat here at the house, with the family and, just did our own thing, really. Didn't really go nowhere. I was planning on just going to the little Chinese spot down the road and getting something, but they're the ones that wanted to cook the turkey, so I was like, I'm not going to turn it down.
Yeah, some people don't want it, some people do. I had a different Thanksgiving being down in Tallahassee. Not being in Atlanta is different, but you got to have my grandma came down, my mom, so we had a good little get together.
Family doing
But
good?
yeah, family doing good. Is family doing good for you? Everybody doing
Hey, everybody that I actually talk to, most of the family is doing their own
good?
thing, so I'm just like, they know where I'm at, so,
Yeah. So getting into Sunday, we got a win in Jacksonville.
Mhm.
After Thanksgiving, good win. As much as people want to call it a bad win because we didn't blow them out
No
because it
such
was
thing.
Jacksonville. There's no such thing as a bad win in the NFL. Any given Sunday, as I put it.
That's right.
There's some things we noticed. Cordell Patterson, off of an injury, is still Cordell Patterson on his team. Um, that's just ridiculous. What
I'm
he
so
did.
I'm so torn on Cordell because it's like I want the Falcons to sign him to a long contract, but he's like, man, he's pushing 30, so it's like,
Yeah, like you
you know what
don't
I
want
mean?
to. You want to have him here as long as you possibly can, but you think about the years he's had. I mean, he's been with Chicago, he's been with Minnesota, and he's been with not Detroit. He's been with the Patriots, I mean, in New England. So I mean, he's had some years on him. He's had some tread. I really just want him to break the record in the Falcons uniform. That's really what I want. I want to break the Falcons
If
record in the Falcons uniform.
if Terry Fontenot can bring him back on like a nice modest contract, something that's not crazy, then I'm all for it. But like if he wants like some like 20 million a year or something, then I mean I can't really help him
No,
on that.
I can't. Yeah, I think he wants to be in Atlanta. I think a lot of these players here want to be in. They want to be, which is weird because some players don't want to be here for a rebuild. Well, not it's not, and it's not a rebuild, it's retooling. Let's put it like that.
Yeah,
And you don't want a lot of people here for that. You really, let's be honest. If I'm you want to win. Let's be honest. You want to keep winning because
oh yeah,
you're not gonna bring in stars and be like, they're gonna have an average year every year. So I'm just gonna come here just to help
yeah.
be average. No,
Like
you gonna want to go somewhere where you win.
well, it's like J.J. Watt when he went to Arizona. Like he was looking, he's looking for a ring, So
Yeah. At this point, he's ring. He's ring hunting. Which is I don't
exactly.
blame him. I don't blame him.
Well,
You have every accolade
Well,
except
it's like Tony Gonzalez, like one of the best tight ends of all time. If in my opinion, he's better than Gronk. Sorry, but it's just me though. But he would trade a few of those Pro Bowls, a few of those numbers just for one
for a
ring.
ring.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So like,
I take him at 30. You know, I take him at 30 over Russell Gage, Christian Blake. Yeah, and I'm gonna get into that. I actually we
yeah,
were talking about some things before the show. We want to get to. I didn't bring this up, but I do want to talk about these guys. None of these guys can get open, and I'm gonna say why. And Mike talked about this last night with y'all. They're too small. They are really small. I mean, Russell Gage probably isn't touching 200 pounds. Christian Blake isn't. No, I know Christian Blake and Zacchaeus are. Your biggest wide receiver you have on this team right now is Tajay Sharp. And you look at who's catching the balls over the middle, it's
I'm
Tajay Sharp.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Like I couldn't agree even more because like I've been saying this forever for weeks and weeks that like the guys in this system right now are that they're just too small. They're not made for this system. That's why I'm like looking at a dude like I would love it if the Falcons somehow by God's grace, has got their hands on a dude like Drake London at like in round
Yeah,
two or something. Like that dude was just tailor made for this system. Like six
yeah.
five, like what is he like 220, 210, something like
He's
that.
big. He's
He's a big
big.
dude.
And that's the thing going into, you look at the guys we have on this team. You're just like it's not a scheme fit. And your best scheme fit players, and y'all are going if you're Matt Ryan here, you're gonna hate this. It's Matt Ryan and Cordell Patterson and Kyle Pitts on offense. Those are your main three that really fit.
I mean, that's what I'm gonna
Um,
get basically.
so I can see you saying that it was the passing scheme and not the players. We've had how many? Matt's had how many offensive coordinators? It's been at least five. It's at least
Well,
five.
the thing about the whole argument about the passing scheme is if every coach was equipped, because the thing about it is these coaches that use their systems have been sold on their systems for heck, some of
Yeah.
them, like Dean Pease, for example, he's been sold on his system for like almost 40 plus years. You know what I mean? Like they know that system in and out. They don't know another system, so it's like, in order to make these players work, in order to make the system work, you have to have these players to match this system. Because if these coaches start going outside their element, they don't really know it like that. So it's like it's hard to draw these extra plays up for these players that don't necessarily fit the system they're trying to push. And then that doesn't form to the identity they may be trying to put onto this team too. Like there's a specific type of play style that Dean Pease, for example, wants to put on this defense, and if the player doesn't fit that system, then it's hard to kind of especially a player that may be opposite of what they're looking for to play outside of that in that box. It's hard.
Great example. Great example. Kaminsky. Let's think about it. Kaminsky was a D tackle for Dean. I almost said Dean P. Dan Quinn. Where's Kaminsky? I don't know if you saw the picture, but Kaminsky's working out with the outside linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
That man is not big enough to play in Dean P's D tackle. Now let's think about it. You bring in Anthony Rush, 24-year-old, 6'5", 320-pound man. He's gonna fit in that role. Brady Jarrett has been moved, and this is why I like with Dean Pease. And this I was telling people about his system, why it's so crazy. So Dean Pease has a system to where, all right, this is so he said, and he did this in an interview. Nobody really caught on to it. I don't think unless you really listen to what he's saying. He was like, okay, so every week the center knows who the mic is. You know who usually lines up at mic because when we play Tampa, who is your mic? It's Devin White. Devin White is usually your mic, or they might switch it to David, but it's usually those two. Mm-hmm. What Dean Pease does is, okay, well, you think he's the mic? I'm gonna put my outside linebacker in the mic, or you think you think Debo's the mic, and I switch it over. He's not the mic, or Foye is. So the thing is, you give these guys different looks, and that's why and then you don't have to worry about the back coverage because they're trying to worry about that front seven. The back guys, let's say we still had Io, we still have Cal, let's say we still had Io now. Io, you would have had Io, you would have had AJ Terrell Island, you would have had, well, we don't, Sheffield's just that different. I don't even know what's going on Sheffield. You would have had Darren Hall, you would have had a service of Eric Harris and Deron Harmon. That's your five. Let's say that's just your five, right? So why in the world would you want to worry about your front? Let's think about Seattle. Seattle's had a great front seven to make the Legion of Boom look amazing. Now those are talented players. I will never take that away from them. That was one of the most talented secondaries of all time.
That I'd put that up against like the '85 Bears. Like that defense was ridiculous.
But all around, let's think about it. The linebacking core. Bobby Wagner in his prime. You had great linebacking cores. You still had a good front. That front seven, you could send a blitz. And Richard Sherman ain't really got to work that hard because he's getting some pressure. But he knows his front seven's gonna get there. That's why I love how Terrell is able to do this without the pressure. That's why I applaud Terrell so much. Because he's doing this without the front seven pressure that you would expect from a great corner. Because Darrell Reeves has had, he had a great D-line.
Terrell Reeves had a great one.
Yeah, so that's why I say. But going back to the passing scheme, it's not the scheme. I mean, these guys are getting killed off the line. Literally, I wish I could show the film. You go into the film, they're getting jammed 9 times out of 10.
Before they even really moved their hands like really, and they don't it's done up in their chest.
Yeah. And to Marquise's comment, I miss Ridley for the fact that he would have in himself moved a lot of the double coverage off of Kyle and would have Kyle over. And this is the things where you want to matriculate in, like, they have some things that you would want to use, but if they don't have it, then what's the point? That's just gonna make it worse because we don't have that.
getting back to Terrell real quick or whatever, I've seen a lot of people bash Terrell saying, "Oh, he's not that great. He's not that good because he doesn't travel." Here's the problem with traveling, though. Dean Pease is very aware that most of his players in this defense, especially on the back end, can't man up. Now, if you have Terrell travel, that tells the offense off rip that it's man coverage, and that basically gives away your scheme. Now, if you don't have the other players on that defense to really man up and really go up against one-on-one on these players, then you're going to get ate up, and Dean Pease knows this. That's why Terrell hasn't been traveling. So when people use that argument about Terrell not traveling, that's why he's not good. It just doesn't really understand football, because that, like I said, that tells the offensive coordinator that the defensive coordinator thinks their players are just better than your players. Because like I said, that just tells you right there it's going to be man, and it doesn't. You can't do that with this secondary quite yet. As far as Kyle Pitts goes, this is a result of what me and Tyron were talking about off camera a second ago with Micah Parsons, or not Micah Parsons, but yeah. About people get hip to what he's up. These coordinators are doing, so they start double and triple teaming these players, and it kind of shuts them down. And like that's kind of a lack of other players around him, and how that correlates to Kyle Pitts is he's in this the perfect system for him. But the issue is, like Tyrone was saying, none of the other receivers can get open, and that leaves these other defensive coordinators be like, look, the only real threat here is Cordell Patterson, Matt Ryan, and Kyle Pitts. And last time I checked, 3 is way smaller than 11. So it's like, they just designate 1 or 2 more guys on Pitts. That by proxy, more than less, eliminates Ryan unless Cordell Patterson's out there. And I think that's actually kind of one thing about Cordell Patterson too, is he's actually feeding off of Kyle Pitts and vice versa. Because it's like if the coverage dictates 2 people or even another person on Kyle Pitts, that's going to leave Cordell Patterson one-on-one, and that man is too big and too quick to be left one-on-one, and he's going to eat most people up in single coverage. So it's like that's one of the main reasons why Cordell Patterson is such a key component in this offense, is because of Kyle Pitts and vice versa. Because it's like they can't double both of them; they have to pick their poison. Yeah, and that's really the only thing. Excuse me. We have going right now on this offense is the fact that we have those 2 players. Because I mean, as you see, when Cordell Patterson's out, Kyle Pitts gets tripled, and then Zacchaeus and the rest of them just can't get open, and Ryan's out there on an island. He could throw it away or put something up and hope. So.
And I like that he said Terrell reminds me of Trufant. This is when Trufant's Trufant's first. Trufant had a lot of people. I mean, his first couple of years he was dominant. I mean, Trufant came in the league just dominant. And, I mean, that's what Terrell reminds you of. Like, he's just dominant. Now, we don't want the ending of what happened to Trufant, but, I mean, he's going to be I think Terrell was a way healthier pick than Trufant, because Trufant had, injuries and stuff like that. I think we have what we want. I think we're going to have to get another – everybody knows we're going to have to get these other guys, but we have you have your CB1. You have your CB1 sitting there, and you're not going to get rid of that guy.
I mean, I got a hot take. Like, if, let's say, Jordan Davis is off the board or whatever, but then let's say kid out of LSU, the corner.
Stingley.
Yeah,
I know he's talking about. Yeah, Stingley. There's Stingley.
Let's say Stingley drops to us, whatever. Like, I'm not opposed to picking up Stingley because, Terrell could use a Gilligan on that island. You feel me?
Yeah.
Then that would establish his defense's identity as like a lockdown.
And then we have our safeties already. Let's be honest, we have Jaden Hawkins, Richie Grant. So
and next year when Isaiah Oliver comes back, you got your slot. You know what I mean? So now you went from having a subpar secondary. It's like a pretty damn good one at this point. You know what I mean?
At this point, yeah. There doesn't seem to be enough spacing. You can't space when you get jammed off the line. Let's say so. I'll give myself. I'm 270, right? Let's say your corner's 220. Your wide receiver, and this is just you can't say they're supposed to be faster. Your wide receiver is 120. I wouldn't really look at how much he is really weighing. Oh, he's not really in the biggest.
The Kias is like 170, 180 at best, I think.
At best. And you're getting a 220 man pressing multiple times, you're gonna first off, that's like if you watch boxing, if you watch the Wilder versus Fury fight, what if Fury if you watch Fury did that whole fight, he just laid on him that whole fight. And that's what the thing is. Like you just gonna keep jamming these guys off the line. You're not gonna get any movement.
That's like Tyrone here jamming me in my chest. I'm only 180, like 5'10". Like I'll be like, oh, why'd you do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, and that's just how it goes. It's just, and you don't want to see it as that, but I mean that's what it is. You can't come at these smaller guys. Every DB has gotten bigger. It's not like this is a weight thing. They're just bigger than most. These receivers are getting bigger, and these DBs are getting bigger. They're not tall, but they're getting more muscle mass. Like Terrell's only 6'2". I think he's not
like that.
Yeah, he's not tall at all. They're not tall. They're just more. They know how to have technique, and these guys don't have the same. Like Ridley. Ridley has that release. He's learned from Julio, and he's learned at Alabama those release skills. Getting off the press and stuff like that. Some of these guys, mind you, Zakiya is undrafted free agent. Russell Gage was a 5th or a 6th round pick. Tajay Sharp was a 5th round pick, and Christian Blake, I think he was a 5th round pick. So. That's just. It's just, man. It's kind of sort of.
Is that too loud in the background? By the way.
I think it's fine. Y'all in the comments can tell me if it's too loud. I think it's fine.
Playing with cats playing with my boy. I didn't want to have that all.
No, it's cool. It's cool. I can hear it. What's going on, Falcons fan? What's going on, my guy? How you doing? The Marvin Lear. These are other guys. So, guys, this is another thing. I'm gonna put a community post up on Fila. Let me throw this out there. I'm gonna put a community post up on Fila. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. Anybody you wanted to look at draft wise, please send it to me because me and Vlad will do it together. And of course, on Mike's channel, put it in his comments. Put it in both our comments because we're gonna find a way. Somebody's gonna cover them guys you want to talk about. Yeah, so that's how I see it.
But getting back to what you're talking about, the receivers a minute ago, that's why I'm so big on like Drake London, because he's like 210, 6'5". This dude is massive at the receiver, and that would literally give Kyle Pitts another running mate out there, because it's like you can be huge like that and have at least decent route running, but the fact that you're so big means you can go up and high point these balls. So, like, even if somebody that's smaller that's on you, you might be able to just get up over them. So it's like for example, Mohamed Sanu was a great example of that. Like, he just high pointed those balls, and man, he was ridiculous in this scheme, and it netted us a 2nd round pick. So it's like you got to get these, especially in this system, you have to get those like big outside guys to go out there and man up on these dudes and just high point these balls.
You say if the Falcons get out of the 5th year option, really, they will only have Frank Darby next year. Well, of course, we're going to have to sign some of these guys back. I think Gage gets a thing about it is Gage is not a number 1 receiver, right? Gage is the number 1 receiver.
He's like a 4th on one of the team.
He's like a 3-4, and I had an LSU guy that's watched his whole career say, no, he's not number 1 or 2. He's really 3. And so you have a number 3 receiver. Frank Darby isn't a number 1 receiver. Christian Blake and Zakiya are not number 1 receivers. Your main number 1 was Calvin Ridley. Now, you would pray you bring him back this year, or you get him back sometime this year or next year, and he really wants, he's focused and he wants to play, but you never know. So
I think what will happen is they'll definitely bring him back on the 5th year option, but I don't think in the plans of actually bringing him back long term are actually in like the final plans of this team. So don't be surprised if Ridley, like I said, comes back and then gets traded for like if somebody offered me a 2nd for Ridley, like I hate it, just all mental things aside, that's terrible. He's going through that. But from a pure football standpoint, somebody gave me a 2nd for him, I'm taking it, especially this year with how the defense is coming out. It's because you could literally walk away with 2 starting DNs in this class. This class has like 25 guys in the top 100. It is nuts. How good this team is.
I think I'll go back to this comment because somebody was saying something about Kenny. I want Kenny Pickett in Pittsburgh. I know it's funny to say because he's already in Pittsburgh, but I think Kenny Pickett needs to go to Pittsburgh. I think he's a good fit. Yeah, I think he's a good fit in Pittsburgh. I think that's my only pick I want him at this point. I I don't want to see him anywhere else. I think he's going to be bad anywhere else. But I think Pittsburgh is really where he needs to go.
Yeah, I actually
Because
like him.
that rebuild, and I love that. Every time I think about that Pittsburgh rebuild, they did it so smooth that you don't really think of it as a rebuild. But it is what it wasn't. It wasn't a rebuild. Though. What was it? It was a retooling. It was never a rebuild. They never said we're gonna get rid of everybody. The one main constant they had was Ben Roethlisberger. And mind you, they hadn't made the playoffs, but they had Bud. They brought in Bud Dupree. They brought in T.J. Watt. They brought in Tate Claypool. They brought in really everybody you think of is on that team is a major, Juju.
Like
All of those guys is.
Mike Tomlin is like low key one of like my favorite coaches in the NFL. Like he's so slick on how he actually like puts together his roster. Like it's very cerebral. Like because you don't really see it coming, and all of a sudden they out there going 11-4 and all kind of craziness.
I think we draft a running back. I don't think we draft one until about the third or fourth. Too many holes to fill.
Isaiah, what's his name? Crap.
What's cool?
I'm trying to think. There was one kid I was looking at.
I want Cook. Yeah, and that's the only reason I want Cook is because he's like Cordell. Cook is from Georgia. I like James Cook. I would love to have him. I think he's not making out the first round. If you can snatch him out the second round, it's still hard to judge what we
Isaiah Spiller was his name, out of Texas.
Where's he from? Oh,
Texas.
Okay. A&M. Yeah. I like him. He's a big guy. He's a bigger running back.
He's like
so
215.
Yeah, he's a bigger guy. But I mean, you need a. That's why I say Cordell. The whole thing with Cordell is what you have to look at. Mike wanted me to plug y'all. So Fila Sports, come to Fila Sports. It's a lot more on Fila Sports. It's a lot more of my face on Fila Sports. Georgia stuff. I'm doing all Georgia this weekend, man. All week it's gonna be stuff Georgia. I got my Georgia shirt off for a reason. Could we still gallop from Dallas this offseason? Money. I just had to think about the money we're gonna have on this team. And if we could, I would love it. That's not a bad idea.
I don't hate that idea, but it's like that's what it boils down to, though. Are we going to have the money to really afford it? Because that's the worst part. I think that's the only thing now is like, do you have the money? Because that's the worst. Is there any good wide receivers coming out? Okay, so of course we say Drake London, who's the human highlight reel. Jahan Dotson from Penn State. Mm-hmm. All three wide receivers from Ohio State, I think, are all going to come out this year. So that's Olavaye. What is the other one? It's is another dude. It's a couple of them. So that's 5. That's the 5 I can think of. There's probably more. So I think that's about John Mechie, M-E-T.
Yeah, John Mechie. Mechie's coming out. So I mean, those are you got some guys. I think Cincinnati has a lot of guys coming out. I want to talk about the Senior Bowl with you guys towards the end. I do want to check because I want you guys to watch it. Running back from Michigan State. Oh, Kenneth Walker Sr. I like Kenneth Walker Sr. too. We got Trojan here. Oh wow!
Speaking of Michigan, like if all things equal, like if I had like my app, I love Davis, but like that kid, Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan.
That's been my number. It's funny. It's funny you say that. You watch my college football shows. Eric, you watched the first one I did when we did Washington versus Michigan. Who did I say? I said I wanted the Falcons uniform. If you was in there, you know who I said I wanted the Falcons uniform. I've been saying it. I've been saying it since I saw him play with Washington. I said, oh yeah, he's gonna be special. I just watched him say that, and I was like, oh yeah, that means. I got the running back on the 4th round. He's going to the Senior Bowl. I just saw his stuff today. He's going to the Senior Bowl too. He's like 6'6". No, he's like 6'2", 230. He's a big boy. He's a bigger dude. So it says, don't we have 2 4th-round picks this draft coming up? So we have a lot of picks this year. Actually, it's a lot. Y'all come crazy. We have. Let me see. 1, 2. Yeah, we have 2 seconds, a third, a fourth, a fifth, and a sixth. But let's not forget, we probably get more picks. Because of compensation. We should get one for Alex Mack. We should get one for who else?
Um,
We just did this the last year. I can't even think about who else we say. Oh, Keanu.
yeah,
KZ. I don't know if KZ's gonna get us one, but I know Keanu and Alex Mack should.
I mean, KZ
Um,
might get a 6. That'd be about it.
yeah, KZ's gonna get you about 6, man. That's the only thing. Hudson and Thibodeau. Okay, yeah.
Hutchinson.
I like Hayden's gonna go higher than Thibodeau, which might be special because if you can get, let's think about it. We have 4 D linemen that can go top 5 because Jordan Davis can go top 5, Thibodeau can go top 5, Hudson can go top 5. No, I wouldn't say. I was gonna say, but he's a linebacker from Georgia. Nolan, not Nolan. What's the other guy's name? The number one. He's the defensive player of the year. Number 7, Nakobe Dean.
Yeah,
Dean could go top 5 too if he has a great, he has a good pro day. He could go top 5. So
I'd say Hutchinson personally out of the two, just because if you look at like the competition, Oregon's play versus Michigan, Michigan actually seems to have played a little bit of a tougher schedule, in my opinion.
yeah, and Michigan plays. I mean, Big Ten football is not small football.
Exactly.
We just I don't see for a first round it's gonna be hard. I'm gonna say this why it's gonna be hard because they don't know what he's gonna do. Now, if Ridley would have played this year and we were like, okay, we can get rid of him, and he had a productive year, it would have been different. We could probably get a first. Mm-hmm. But now he hasn't played.
Ridley's like the definition of Jekyll and Hyde. Like teams are going to look at him like, are we getting Jekyll or are we getting Hyde over here? Like which one are we getting?
And who is he going to play? Is he going to want to play? That's the worst part about doing this. Is like, can we do it? Can we not do it? It's going to be weird. Competition. Okay, that's what I thought. It's Keanu and KZ. Let me see. He said Allen. Which Allen? What Allen?
Ricardo Allen.
Oh yeah, Ricardo. I forgot we cut Ricardo. God, that's. So he would be. He should be. Yeah, he's gonna be a pick.
Yeah, I forgot all about Allen until the comment came in.
Yeah, until he said, I was like, Ricardo. God, man, Ricardo. That's weird. It's weird not having him on the team. That's really weird not having him on the team. If we get a big wide receiver one, we should keep Ridley. Yeah, okay, that's different. If you can keep Ridley on his 5th year, you get a good. The only thing about it is what is Ridley going to do if you get another number 1 receiver. That's another thing about it.
See, that's the thing though. That's why I think like somebody like Drake London makes a lot of sense because that would take the double teams off of Ridley and give him more of those one-on-ones like he was getting when Julio was around.
Yeah,
and that honestly, I still think that they would trade him because I think what's going to happen is they're going to bring him back on the 5th-year option. And then they get that big body receiver in the draft, and then Ridley, balls out next year, and then they do turn that 2nd-round pick around on him. They get that 2nd rounder for him. That's what I ultimately think might happen because, like I was saying, like it's nothing against Ridley. It's just like unless he does have that big body guy out there, he's just not going to excel in this system. And like that's like best case scenario because let's say like they do draft Drake London and he gets hurt, right? And now he's back out there in the same situation he's in this year where he was getting doubled and he like his route running is only going to do so much for him because like if he breaks one dude off, you got another guy right there to kind of pick up the slack where he broke the first dude off. So like
he can break so the play where Matt threw the ball to him on the sideline versus Tampa, and everybody was like, man, that was such a bad ball for Matt. You got to think about it. Matt had to put it right there. He couldn't put it anywhere else because safety. I think y'all forget. Tampa Bay has Winfield, and they got Winfield. I can't even think the other safety. So the corner's right here, the safety's right here, and Calvin's right in the middle. You can't throw that ball down the field because Winfield has the track speed. You can't throw it behind them so you had to throw it in that one spot. And of course, Winfield still was fast. He still got to it, but it was the only place you could throw that ball. And that's why you want somebody bigger. Because you think that would have been Julio in his prime. Julio would have caught that ball. Julio might have caught that and took it for a touchdown.
And Julio would have caught that, did a backflip, and then took it for a touchdown. Like
it would have been something crazy in his prime. Yeah. So that's why I say So yeah, Sauce Gardner and Stingley, those would be good guys. Like I said, guys, Fila, I'm gonna put out a community post. Subscribe to Fila Sports Podcast. I'm gonna put out a community post. Put all these names. I mean, all of them. Anybody you think of, anybody you watch this weekend in championship game. Comment once, comment twice. Just keep putting names in, and
Like,
I will pick who I really want to do with. Me and Vlad will, and Mike will have Mike and K Style. Of course, those guys will do theirs. We all gonna work together. Just keep going from channel to channel. It's gonna be on all of them.
like like I said earlier, like I would love the idea of actually bringing Stingley in and like giving Stingley and like AJ on the outside, and then you got Oliver in the slot. Good Lord.
That's just a dirty. That team, and that's why I keep telling people. Y'all always talk. Y'all aren't saying. We have the safety. Jalen Hawkins has 2 picks on the year already, and Richie Grant is playing great football.
Yeah,
so
Grant like he was balling out this last game in Jacksonville. Like he was.
That's what I'm saying. Like, man, these guys are getting more confident. You give us another corner, and you get your 4. You get your 4 basic corner. Yeah, like, man, this team is gonna be crazy. That's what people don't understand. That's gonna be hard. I like this comment. We may get a big wide receiver, and
Yeah.
It's gonna be kind of hard. I say in my eyes, it's gonna be hard because I don't know the money.
I could see them bringing in like a third dude, like a wide receiver 3. That's more of a big body guy.
Yeah,
kind of like
Well, Tajay Sharp was. Let's be honest, Tajay Sharp was that. So
yeah, that's true.
So and Tajay Sharp is balled. I will say that Tajay Sharp has balled. He hasn't been bad. Tajay Sharp I don't think Tajay Sharp hasn't gotten the what you want.
But yeah, like I can still see them bringing in a receiver, like even as early as like that first day 2 pick, or that first like second round pick. And
I mean, bro, we do draft. Y'all know we do draft shows, so we be up all night. Day 3 is the best day because it'd be at 12 o'clock. You can wake up and get right into it. But day 1 and 2, oh man, you're gonna be up till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. Because them commercials are the most annoying part. Like, bro, stop playing commercials. It's called a pick.
The thing about Ridley though, like I genuinely think Ridley wants to be here. Like the longer and longer he's out, the more worried I get about him. Just because it's like what really has been that tragic in your life that shuts you down from literally making millions. You know what I mean? Like it's got to be something like crazy, because it's like unless it's just like I'm not saying like the mental thing doesn't just happen to happen, but normally it's triggered by something, right? So it's like I'm just worried for him. Like I'm legitimately like the longer he's out, the more I'm like, man, what happened? Are you gonna be okay? Like period. Like it's rough.
Yeah, because I think everybody sees it as, and this is why a lot of people become insensitive. It's like, bro, we're paying you all these millions of dollars, you're not playing. But mind you, we've seen we've seen not Coco. We've seen what's her name? What's the Asian girl that plays golf? Naomi. Mm-hmm. We saw Naomi Osaka. We saw the gymnast. We saw her, step away from her. At the Olympics, she stepped away because she wasn't mentally prepared. So I mean, and then she came back. She came back and still won the medal. But even still, it's just like you can't force these people, into these roles. And they're like I think when we threw him into that wide receiver 1 role, and he took it on. But are you really the leader in that locker room that we need in the wide receiver room? Because you bring in these other guys like Tajay Sharp, who's been in the league a little bit longer, and you bring in all these other receivers. You're supposed to help. You got Frank Darby in there, the rookie. You got these young guys. Gage has been in the league longer than you. So you get these guys in a good bunch. So I mean, that's just so much. It's just so much what you have to think about. Is what really, like, the locker room atmosphere, whatever. You want to make sure he's okay. Where we draft at the moment, the edge guys are gone, don't want to reach. I'm telling you, bro, this class is so deep.
Well, that's why I was saying, like, let's just say the top 3 guys are gone, right? The edge classes are gone. That's still going to leave you with Stingley. That's still going to leave you with Davis. That's still going to leave you with, like, Lindbergh. What's this guy? The guy out of Iowa, the center. Like I said,
Linderbaum. That's
like
Linderbaum.
Lindenbaum. They don't like. I don't know. Like I think just like an elite center could literally transform your whole offensive line. Like
Yeah.
I really feel that.
Linderbaum is another guy. It's another guy. I want to. It's the guy from Purdue. I can't
Yeah.
say his name. The German guy.
In a second.
God, what's his name? I just watched his
Talking
highlight.
about George Kaleftis or whatever.
Yeah. It's like something like that. Yeah, he's a dog. He's another.
Yeah,
He's edge number 3. So as I'm saying, you have these guys where we pick it, and so say Aiden Hutchinson and Thibodeau go high, he's gonna look. Let's say we pick from in the teens, he's gonna be in the teens. He's projected to go in the teens. He's not projected to go higher than the teens.
I mean, because you got to think, you still got Kyle Hamilton, you still got Derek Stingley, you still got Evan Neal. I mean,
This is such a good defense. This is such a good defensive draft. Like you got some good offensive. I promise you, these corners, not these corners, but these quarterbacks. These are not day one quarterbacks. None of these guys are day one quarterbacks. Kobe Dean is going to be sitting there. Trayvon Walker is going to be sitting there.
Trent McDuffie out of Washington.
I mean, bro, you're not really. You can't go. What you want is you want to make sure these guys are straight. Trayvon Walker, like I'm saying, all these guys we're saying, we're probably going to do shows on because we want to make sure you guys know who these guys are. Because so that's what I say. Go to Fila. Please go to Fila. Go on there, subscribe. Mostly if you on Fila already, thank you for being on there. But go to Fila. Go on there. Forever I Love Atlanta Sports. And go on there and subscribe, man. Because most of y'all know us, though. Most of you guys, we don't have both platforms. Also, a good. Okay, so Auden Tate's a big. Yeah, I mean, he's big. You got 2 big guys. He has to be in. It's just tax bracket. I mean, everything now is like money. Like it's so tight. We're gonna have to have something to where we have to exactly really get. We're gonna have to be able to sign our draft class next year. Now, remember how much we had to go through this year to sign our draft class, to even think about signing our draft class. So
that's another reason why I'm such in favor of just stacking as many picks as we possibly can, is because of the cap being so tight. Because any coach at any level will tell you, any coach in the NFL rather will tell you that the best way to build a team is through the draft. Like if you can get those cheap contracts and get stars on those cheap contracts, like you're doing an amazing job as a franchise. So it's like, and the more swings at the bat you get, the more times you have a chance to hit that home run. Like Grady Jarrett, for example, right? Like we got him in the 5th, and he's been the most dominant lineman we've had for like over 10 years at this point. Like he's been insane. And and that's another thing too about the draft. Like I don't ever really sweat where the Falcons draft in the first round. I am always under the impression that I want them drafting as low as possible, because you're going to get talent. I don't care if you're drafting at 32nd overall. You just won the Super Bowl. Like there's more than 32 potential stars in every draft. You just got to know which ones to take and which ones not to. And that just goes down to your scouting department. Is your scouting department on point enough to really determine which one of these players that you could take at like this very late pick in like first, second, whatever, to hit these home runs? So as long as you have the picks, and as long as you have bites of that apple, and as long as you're hitting on those picks, you got nothing to worry about as a franchise, no matter where you're picking. So like you'll get talent regardless.
I guess we'll get to this topic because we were going to get into this topic earlier, but we'll get into this topic now because, like Eric said, we're one offensive lineman short of being so we got to see Hennessy and we got to see Dalton. I've been telling y'all folks about Dalton all year. I told you he was a little light. He's a little light in the butt. But you watched him Sunday, and I mean he looked good. He looked like he knew the offense. And if you look at what Stanford was and what Stanford is, they are an outside zone football team. And what do we run in Atlanta? We run an outside zone scheme. And so you get to see this outside zone move and shake how you want it to look. And
Mike Davis is just atrocious. But
I mean,
other than that,
yeah.
um, other than that, these guys, like you say, we're one. I think we're one really good.
Mhm.
And I hate. I don't want to. I wouldn't say it's McGarry, but I mean, Lindstrom is that guy. Jake Matthews is that guy. You see Mayfield developing into being closer to getting to that guy, and you see Dolman. I don't pick on one. I mean, you never know. McGarry can come out one game and just not give up a sack because he did it. He's done it a couple times where he's had really great games. But I think this is the thing where you have to look at it as what position. Because I can say, like we said, Linderbaum is a stud at center, but we saw Drew Dalman be an absolute stud in that game versus Jacksonville.
If you look at his PFF grade, I mean, anytime he's been in, he's got like an elite grade. Like he's been like insanely good in this system. But that grants you now. When I say that, it's a very limited, sample size. But he has been amazing.
I like this idea though. I go this one. We have 2 second-round drafts. Jack can run back one of them. I like that idea.
I wouldn't hate that.
I wouldn't hate it. No. Like you said, Graham. Yeah, Graham was a 5th-round pick. We had 2 5th-rounders. Yeah, Graham was a 5th-round pick. TQ. I like TQ too.
Yeah,
I think he's coming into his own now. So we getting into and then you say, okay, Dalman was a Smith pick. I see Dalman as a beast. So if, like I said, you look at the video I posted on Drew Dalman. Go to Fila and go look at the video I posted on Drew Dalman. This is in March. I posted this video in March. Go look at it after we drafted him. I did the whole video on him after we drafted him. Please, if you want to just put in Fila Sports Drew Dalman, I did it on our channel. And I had a lineman guy. I have a specific lineman guy I trust with my lineman skills, and he told me you put him in the right system, he's gonna be great. Now Hennessy came in as the incumbent. Let's put it like this: he was the incumbent pick. Hennessy was your incumbent. He was the guy that was here. He was established with the team. You kind of sort of want to bring a rookie in and be like, go ahead and get on the field and start. Fine. And this is not an easy offense. I think people think this offense is easy.
This
is not an easy blocking scheme offense.
Right there. That I honestly believe that's why Hennessy was actually put in there as the starter, because I honestly think Drew Dalman obviously was the future, but the reason why Hennessy was put in there so early is so Drew Dalman can sit back and just master this playbook. That way, when he gets on that line, because people take for granted just how important the center position is. I could literally make an argument that the center position is more important than a right guard. Just because if your center doesn't establish the plays correctly, that can throw your entire line off. Like if he comes out there and makes a wrong call or a bad call, that can throw your right tackle off, your left guard off, your left tackle off. You know what I mean? Like you have to be very sound in what you're calling.
As a center myself, and y'all know I give my lineman love. I love my linemen. I've done it. I've played line my whole life. Give my linemen some love, man. Drew Dalman is a I'll put it like this: he's a Stanford guy. He's a smart guy, and that's what you want in your center. There's 2 positions on that line that you really pay attention to. You have your center and you have your left tackle.
Mm-hmm.
The tackle don't get the most money because he's protecting the blind side. But your center, I want to like when Alex Mack got something. Everybody's like, man, we paid Alex Mack a lot of money. And then the first year he gets here, we go to Super Bowl. So your center controls a lot. I think people understand, like that center role, y'all, everybody makes the joke like, oh, you get your butt touched by the quarterback. I'm protecting that man with my life at this point, and I'm making sure everybody on this line is getting protected. And you got different, like the thing is for a center, it's a mind thing because you got to call cuts, you got to call who cutting who's blocking this guy, the mic's right here, so we're going to double, you got to call the double teams. Mm-hmm. And everybody has different, of course, everybody has different calls, like your guards and your tackles have a different call, but your center has the main call sheet. When he says, you go by. Like if he calls Lucy, if he calls Bright, and you can call Ricky or Lucy Ricky, Bobby, whatever he calls out as the center, that's for the whole line to call.
Mm-hmm.
That's not for you. And the quarterback has to know it as well. Because if he calls out Bobby and then he runs up and checks, it's like check. He has to communicate with the center. The center got to call. He has to call his thing. So
meanwhile, you got thousands of fans screaming the whole time.
That's why you have. If you ever watch a Michigan, that's if you ever watch college football. The guard is now. A lot of teams have adapted to it. That the guard stands up and looks back. The one that doesn't have a lineman over right on his head, he looks back and taps the center when he's ready for the ball. And that's kind of sort of why that's where it comes from. That's because the crowd noise is so high. And that's why the guards kind of sort of listen more. That's why everybody turns to the side now. It used to be the center could just call it out and everybody knows. But that's why people turn to the side and everybody has different calls and the linemen on the sidelines are calling different calls. But your center still has to know everything. I don't think he will understand. Your center knows the whole old line. He knows every position. And our head coach used to test us on O line, just the positions in general, like what your call, like red, red, blue, what your formations were, and have the people that passed the test. I was the main one that passed because I have to learn that. If you're a center or a backup center,
it's literally it's make or break.
It's make or break. If you don't know formations and your center and your quarterback's calling all these calls, you're like, I don't know what he's talking about. Like I just don't know what he's talking about. You're gonna look crazy. It's gonna look a little slow for you.
So that's why I think Hennessy was put in there, is because he was buying time for Dahlman to get the hand gestures, the book, all that down. But if you look, like I said, at PFF, Drew Dahlman's PFF score, he's getting like elite grades. Like he's not going to be no joke. Like he's going to be serious. I just have a feeling.
Yeah, you want him to be elite. I think that's what you want. You want him to be elite. Mm-hmm. That's what you really want. Everybody's like you see guys like my Alex Mack. I mean, let's think about it.
Look, compare the 2015 line to the 2016 line. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't even close. And really, the only thing that changed was Alex Mack came in. Really, he came in and I think the reason why he was able to slot in so seamlessly is because he had already worked with Kyle Shanahan for years in Cleveland. So Alex Mack came in and was like, "Oh yeah, this is the same thing. I got you," And we seen what just that kind of production from a center can do. Like, and Alex Mack, like for a lineman, wasn't that big really. Well, he was like 310, 300, something like that.
I don't even think he was 300.
I don't even think so either. Like,
because let's think about it. Jeff Saturday wasn't 300, and he was paid better. So, and that's why I say centers aren't big. Centers are not. See, this is what I say. This is what I say. Centers aren't big, right? So you look at look at Terry Bradshaw center. He was surrounded by nothing but 6'7" athletes around him, and he was only but like 6'5". He don't think he was 6'5". Like centers are not going to be the biggest guys, but they got to be the smartest. Like you have to be the smartest man on that O line. That's why they get tested so hard compared to every other O lineman, because you can play left tackle. I'm telling you, I played every position. You can play left tackle and be like, I just got to block the guy in front of me. Or if it's a run play, I know I got to pull, or I got it's not that hard. I'm the one in the middle telling you got to pull. I'm the one telling you where you need to block, what the mic is, what the weak side linebacker is.
The center reporter.
And that's why that goes back to Dean Pease, going back to his system. And this is why I tell people that system is so crazy, because you can go and practice all week. 54 is your Mike linebacker. You come out 45 is your Mike linebacker. Now you're confused. Now your whole line got to figure out who's not. Because now you get sending blitzes out of different gaps that they can't cover because they think you come out of this gap. That's why Dean Pease is a mad genius, and people don't understand that. He has confused so many linemen. Why do you think all those safety blitzes come in and all of that? Because you can't guard that type of. You got somebody coming from 15 yards back, coming full speed at the snap of the ball. Like, you can't guard that. You can't call that blocking scheme because he's coming as soon as you snap.
Well, that's the thing too. Like that's the reason why he doesn't travel Terrell's because he doesn't want to show his hand. That's the key mark of a DP's defense is you're not going to know what's coming at you until it's already there.
Yep.
And that's what makes his system so deadly.
If Orlando's like a city, I want to go back to this. Somebody said when players come, Jarvis said they tend to play bad. I don't know if it's just coaching the players getting players to do it being in Atlanta. What do I say? And then I'll go to this one. In the city, if a city's like a city of Green Bay, I think players would have played better because they would have to go to strip clubs and all that ratchet stuff. I'll put it like this. So like you said, everybody, I think everybody in here is close to is mostly a diehard fan because we literally almost had heart attacks watching this team play. So everybody's
I've literally had my heart broken a couple of times by this.
Yeah, team. So you think about that. That's a thing. I mean, that's a thing. You have the clubs here. You have the the outside beings and going to do all that stuff. But that's on the player. That's why I say. That's why I applauded Kyle Pitts when he got here. Kyle Pitts didn't come here, and you didn't see him out in the clubs. You didn't see him out in the spotlight of the city. That man came in. Every time you saw a picture of Kyle Pitts, he was in the gym working out, or he was doing something at the facility working out. And it just takes maturity, and that's what these guys are. I think this is what these guys are pushing. And sometimes a new team sometimes you just don't go good at a new team. And we had bad signings with the Mintrov, like these star players. You say like Steven Jackson. I mean, I don't even have to explain that. He was just at the end of his prime. I mean, everybody knew he was at the end of his prime, and we just gave him that contract. Everybody's like, "Oh yeah, we got Steven Jackson," and then the first 3 games, you were like, "Get this man off my team."
Todd Gurley ended up being Steven Jackson 2.0.
Yeah, Todd Gurley was Steven Jackson 2.0. So, I mean, you look at these guys, you're just like, okay, they come here out of their prime. A lot of these players we've gotten have come here out of their prime. And these like Tony Gonzalez was the best signing. One of the best free agent signings I think Thomas Mincham has ever had. Between him and Alex Mack. Those guys are the top 2.
The thing about star players, quote unquote star players, is good franchises don't let stars walk. I don't care what they have to do to get them back into the building. Yeah. It's like I don't want to use Julio as an example, but that's the first thing that comes to mind. Like Arthur Smith's, not that the books was a big thing about it, but it was clear that Julio was past his prime. It was time to move. Let's essentially sucker this other team into thinking he's still Julio and get this pick.
Yeah,
I mean it is what it is, right? So it's like. As far and if any team and if any like player leaves a team that's a star that's still good, it's because one of 2 things happened. One, that franchise was slipping and did something very stupid, like when Kansas City let Tony Gonzalez walk. That was crazy. I'd even say that when the Patriots let Tom Brady walk, like I don't even necessarily hate that idea because a lot of people want to put that on the back of Tom Brady. I'm like, that team was stacked like before Tom Brady showed up. Tom Brady just had that mental fortitude to like push these guys, be like, look, I've been in these dire situations before and we still won. Just, believe in me and I got you. And these players bought into that. That's why Bruce Arians brought him in more than anything is because he knows that Tom Brady, since he's been there in these very dire situations, can push these players to win these games. So it's like, sometimes you can get lucky with these players, even if they're not, super athletic or, in their prime anymore. But the odds of hitting on like a star-studded player in free agency is it's super low most of the time.
It's slim to none.
Exactly.
Like somebody said, Jamon Brown.
Exactly.
That's why I say the Mintrov had bad signings. He had a lot of bad signings. You can't excuse the fact. Like you can say, wow, we got these players that weren't the best, but he got them at the end of the road. Or they weren't just having they just weren't that guy that we thought they were going to be.
Well, it's like one of the best strategies I've always felt that to build a team is you always get like your 3rd and your 4th string guys that you can bring in free agency. And then you ideally want to get your starters from the draft, Like that's your ideal situation. Is like you get your Matt Ryans, your Grady Jarrett's, your Jake Matthews, Kyle Pitts. You get all those from the draft, and then you get your Zacchaeuses and all the rest of your third, fourth, fifth string guys from free agency, because then that gives you a guy that's been in that situation where they've had to come in and play in those roles. And you can also have them come in and tutor the guys that haven't really been in the NFL before, to give them that like veteran leadership. And then at the same time, it's like you don't have a lot of money tied up in them. It's like a triple win there. You know what I mean? Like I never really got signing like these star-studded players to crazy contracts, but unless they're in, it's got to be very specific situations. You know what I mean? Like if like all of a sudden LA decide to let Aaron Donald go, right? I'm backing the bank up into his backyard. You know what I mean? Like I'm dropping the whole bank in his yard. But it's like that's extreme, but that's not going to happen. You know what I mean? So it's like going after these star players in free agency. That's why they normally lead to these busts, because these teams don't let good players walk. A good franchise won't let a good player go.
And that's the truth between any franchise. Like no franchise is gonna be like, hey, let's go ahead and get rid of this guy, like, because we don't think he's good enough anymore. They're never gonna do anything like that. Like that's just not gonna happen. So I think it's fair to judge that. You mean not them, or you think it is fair to judge them because they said we're not rebuilding? Look, I keep bringing this Pittsburgh rebuild up. It wasn't a rebuild. They lost Antonio Brown. They lost Le'Veon Bell, and they lost their linemen. They lost some key pieces. But what have they been doing every draft? And then they brought in Eric Ebron. They bring in some other guys. But every draft has been a slow but sure process where you still have your quarterback as Matt Ryan, but you keep bringing these other guys in to where when you want to bring your new quarterback in, he's not a duck in sitting water.
Exactly. Like
so.
Yeah, you definitely that's the ideal situation. Is you definitely build your team. That's I keep going with Tampa Bay, but Tampa Bay is a great example of that. Like the way they built their team, and then they got Brady and put Brady in there. You know what I mean? Yep. The team was done at that point, and I feel that Arthur Smith's trying to follow a same trajectory as like Bruce Arians is like Jordan Davis, for example, right? If y'all remember back when they first drafted Vita Vea to play their nose tackle, that was one of Bruce Arians' first drafts as far as grabbing that nose tackle. So I could see something very similar happening here where, Arthur Smith looks and is like, okay, I need my future nose tackle, that dominant presence in the middle, because you've already got your oh my goodness.
You got your edge, kind of sort of in Ogundeji a little bit.
I mean, you got your little bit of an edge in Ogundeji, but then you got your you do to and Grady Jarrett to put pressure too. So it's like there's no real way they could really go wrong in this draft, because like even if they get somebody like a Stingley, then you got a lockdown secondary. If you get like a guy like Jordan Davis, now you have somebody freeing up Grady Jarrett for one-on-ones. It's like there's not really many ways they can really mess this up, and then that's all building blocks towards your future.
Shoot, and even if you want to go offense, everybody says you go O lineman. You're not going to get Neal unless Neal just drops out of nowhere. You probably aren't going to get Neal, but you're going to get a good O line. This has been a trenches draft. That's why when we get into the College Bowl, the Senior Bowl, I want to talk about that, because this is a really good Senior Bowl. This is a really good Senior Bowl. This is going to be one of the best ones we've had in a long time.
Well, that's where it all starts, is in Mobile. That's where the draft starts.
Literally and truly, it all starts in Mobile. They say that for a reason, because it really does. If you guys remember last year, we drafted a lot of guys out of Mobile. A lot of guys out of Mobile.
Grant showed out in Mobile last year.
Yep.
Let
me see. I agree with Miss Mackey. I think a coach really needs to fit in well with the team before we do other stuff. Yeah, you can say that. Yeah, we need to rebuild our offense and defense. You can't rebuild with the money. I can't. I think people understand You can't rebuild with the amount of money we have in debt right now. There's no rebuild.
Like I was saying,
all of these people be like, let's get. So if we rebuild, that means a rebuild is getting rid of everybody. So you want to get rid of Grady Jarrett, you want to get rid of Dion, you want to get rid of AJ Terrell, you want to get rid of, I guess you keep the safeties because they're the newest guys on the team. But that means you get rid of Matt, you getting rid of Calvin, you getting rid of all of those guys, and that's stripping the whole team. That's what a rebuild is. You can't get rid of all those guys.
And the thing about it too is like that doesn't make any sense. Let's just say, for example, they do strip the whole team down, right? It still doesn't make any sense because you're still going to have to get your starters from the draft. So it's like, why would you put yourself back 3 or 4 drafts by getting rid of Grady and all these other players, and then still have to go through the draft anyways? It's like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like I said, you get your starter from the draft, you get your backups from free agency. That's how I see it, at least.
Yeah, that's I think that's how you do it at this point. For that, like we said for and as he said, retooling is a better term. That's why I like to use it as a retool. I don't like to say we're rebuilding as a team. I like to say it's a retool. But we're gonna get into the game. Gonna get into this key matchup of the game this week. Vlad, I'll let you go first. What are a couple of your key matchups?
I mean, I'm looking at Terrell, right? Because you got the receivers on Tampa Bay are on point. Tom Brady's Tom Brady, so I'm really looking at Terrell, and I want to see what he does in round 2 versus Brady and those receivers. As far as somebody like on the front, I really want to see what Ogundeji's going to do. He's coming into his own. I want to see what they do whenever they're directing more attention towards Grady and seeing what he could actually, if he could, get more pressure now that he's had enough time to acclimate himself to the NFL. I really think he could be at least a solid starter on this team, in a year or two. I think he has a lot of upside to him.
I like how you said it's like remodeling a car. You can't build it with duct tape and glue. Got to have money to rebuild it. I like that one. I like that. That's a good way of putting it.
That's the truth, though, right?
Yeah. This is somebody that knows how to work cars. You can't go out there remodeling a car with $10 and think you're gonna be able to redo a whole car. Hey, Miss Asia's in the building, y'all. Debo versus the running back. Okay. So you saying Debo versus Leonard Fournette? I think. See, this is my thing. I have a weird. I love. I love the Debo. I love that. We don't know if Debo's going to play, but Debo did return back to practice today. Sheffield's supposedly back. That's another one I just have no faith in at this point. But Sheffield's supposedly back. Bullard, I think, is back practicing this week. So let's say you get to next. This is why I say Jordan Davis is what we need, right? I'll say this. You get Jordan Davis, Anthony Rush, and Dion Jones, and Grady Jarrett as your front 3, right?
That's a hell of a goal line.
Let's imagine that with Rush as your strong side. Well, Grady is your strong side, Rush is your weak side, and JD's your middle. Let's imagine it as that. I mean, that's a dominant force. And Rush has proven to you, time in and time out, that he is that guy. Like he can be that guy for you and on the outside. And you want to say Marlon, you still have Marlon? Mm-hmm. You still got Marlon Davidson sitting there? I mean, like, now Tyler is a different, that's, you ain't gonna talk about Tyler. But Marlon in itself, I mean, like, bro, this is a team. Yeah, you guys go ahead and go and watch. Noah's coming on at 11, y'all. So we'll be getting off and Noah will be getting close to coming on. But definitely going to check out Noah. We'll get I like this one. He said Fabian Roll get all the smoke. I think they're done. Like if we don't move, which we don't move AJ, we're gonna play a lot of zone. We'll play a lot of probably 3-man deep. I can see 3-man deep, or I can see us playing man. I just don't want that Mike Evans matchup. I mean, Fabian Moreau can hold his own. Don't get me wrong, but you have to have safety help on Mike Evans and on Godwin. So anywhere you have a one-on-one, I think you kind of sort of want to attack that. They're going to try to attack that. But
That's
I don't see Gronk. Gronk had a series last game, right? Where he had an old school vintage Gronk, 5 receptions, 80 yards going down the field. Right? That was just vintage Gronk playing football. He's not gonna have that every week. He really can't have that every week. Let's be honest. We've seen Gronk go disappear out of nowhere. So,
but anybody you're actually looking forward to as far as matchups go for this game?
um actually, I'll go. You know what? I think so. I think I'll go. Brian stole mine actually. Our interior O line versus Sue and V today. I want to see.
Yeah,
I want to see
that was my other
my
one.
boy Jalen Mayfield versus Sue.
Mhm.
That's what I want to see. I want to see that boy. I want to see the dog in him this time. Yeah, I mean week 2, and then you get to play. You get to see Drew, and hopefully you get to see Drew Dahlman and him get to play together, and that gets your rookies. You get your rookies back. So, man, that's what I want to see. I think Brian, you stole mine, but yeah, that's what I want to see.
Yeah, I think if Drew Dahlman does start, I'm going to be very interested in seeing how he holds up against Vea and Sue. Like, yeah, that is a good one. That is a really good one.
Yeah, that's gonna be a great one. I think that's gonna be the one that a lot of people want to look at. If Kyle Pitts gets triple teamed, you can't really say he needs to step.
It's like you could have had like a rookie Randy Moss, right? And if he's getting triple teamed, it's hard for any rookie to get up over a defense like that in their first year.
Yeah.
So like it's not. I wouldn't even necessarily say it's really that Kyle Pitts needs to step it up as much as like the other people around him need to step it up. So he quits getting like triple teamed. That's how I see it at least.
That's another matchup that I guess I'll go to. Zacchaeus and Gage and all those guys versus the secondary. Because I need to see them have some type of fight this week.
Mm-hmm.
You got to give me some type of fight. You don't give me a fight, we ain't gonna win. I mean, Gage was having a game. Let's be honest. Gage was having a game versus him before he got hurt. But not without Calvin. This is the only thing now. Is like we don't have Calvin, so it's like it's gonna be hard. It's a harder scenario in my eyes. That's great minds think alike. Yeah, we do. This game will be won or lost in the trenches. Yeah, I think so. I think whoever stops the run first is who's gonna be the one to win.
I mean, you can. I mean, I kind of believe that. Like for any game, really, like it all starts up front.
Yeah. Let's see. I like to see Austin Limber get 2 sacks versus on Tampa's quarterback. I think Ogundeji can get these one. He can win these one-on-ones. He's been doing it for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
He's been beating one-on-ones. I mean, I've been watching him since college at Notre Dame beating one-on-ones. So you keep giving these one-on-ones, he's going to expose somebody. Somebody getting exposed.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what we have to look at now is who is he going to go after? And you say you're right. Gage should be better. Man, Gage is. That's the thing. These wide receivers just aren't big enough. They're just not those guys, man. They just aren't those guys. Like that's just the only thing about it. They just aren't built for this team.
Mm-hmm. You need those big possession receivers.
They are hurt. They have a lot of injuries too. Let me see. They have a second, and the Falcons like we have to get us. Dante Fowler should have a good game. He had a good game last time we played him. So hopefully Dante has a good game. That's the only thing. What's going on, Mr. Motivator? How you doing tonight? But yeah, those are the type of the key matchups. Is that all your keys to looking at for this game? Is there anybody else you want to talk about?
I mean, for the most part, yeah, we pretty much covered them. Like what the one thing I wanted to say too is that the way DP's system works is they are going to probably move around Mike Evans a lot in this game, and they are going to probably move him away from Terrell, so that the whoever they have playing that secondary corner, like I think they're going to have their plate full this game coming up. That's why when I said earlier, like, don't be surprised if they do go like a Stingley in round 1 in this draft coming up, because the way DMPs likes to disguise his defense is he doesn't like to move his corners, and that kind of shows his hand. So like to have that secondary lockdown corner out there is actually really key. So I'm going to be really curious to see how that whoever they got playing at that secondary corner slot, how they're going to hold down, because Mike Davis, or not Mike Davis, but Mike Evans is going to see those matchups away from Terrell.
He's going to want those matchups. So that's why I said you're going to have some actual safety help. You're going to have safety help at this point.
So don't be surprised if Hawkins doesn't play deep, trying to give more help towards Mike's side. Mike Evans, that is.
This person said if you keep Matt Ryan next year, you better have a wide receiver first round, a second round, and a running back too. Yeah, that's what we were saying. There's no bad pick in this draft, no matter how you go. Really and truly, there's no bad pick. I don't see it as a bad pick. I'll put it like that. I don't see any bad picks in this draft. If you go O-line, if you go D-line, if you go wide receiver, wherever you go, I don't see a bad pick.
Because if you let's say you drafted Neal, for example, right? Obviously, you can put him at right tackle for right now, but eventually, Jake Matthews is going to retire. He's gonna fall off. So you could move Neal over to left. Like, it's like there's not really any bad pick that you could go with. So like, that's why I was very like enthused when I heard the draft philosophy is just like BPA, because like if you look at some of the better franchises, that's normally what they do is they get the best player for their system.
Yeah. Somebody said first round. So this will be the ending of the show. It will be what we were talking about. It all starts in Mobile. I don't have the official roster up in front of me. If I could, I would. They're still announcing kids too.
Yeah. Like if Jordan Davis is on the board, like by all means you take Davis, right? Because a dominant nose tackle could literally transform your entire defense. Because if you can get pressure at that one technique, that literally the quickest way to a player is a straight line, and the closest player to that opposing quarterback is your nose tackle. So it's like if you can get pressure up the middle like that, that's going to get immediate pressure on the quarterback, which is going to put pressure on the secondary, because he's going to have to get rid of the ball way faster, which is going to, could disguise the deficiencies in your secondary. So it's like a guy like Jordan Davis, could be completely just transformative on this line. I mean, you see what happened with Villa in Tampa when they took him. Like, he's not going to have your flashy like sack numbers or whatnot, but it's not really the numbers that you look at as far as the scoreboard goes. You have to look at it as an actual like player on the field. Like, they can transform a game, but like I was saying,
if you go look at, I want people to go look at Vita Bay's numbers in his 3 years, and then go look at Jordan Davis in his 4 years. You'll be like, whoa, they're not that far apart. These guys aren't going to have huge sacks. These guys aren't going to have, what you think. They're not edge guys, but they're going to get you the pressure that you want. They get your edge guys free on one-on-one, and that's what you want.
I think Jordan Davis is actually a more athletic version of Vita Vea, as scary as that is to say.
He's a lot longer. He's a lot big. He's actually he's taller, so he's a lot longer. He's actually can move around there.
He's like what, 6'6"?
Yeah, he's 6'6", close to 6'7". So
crazy.
Yeah. So, looking at this, of course, you guys know they're gonna have there's a long list, of course, of Senior Bowl guys. But there's two guys that I like on this list. So Devontae Price is from Florida National as a running back. You guys can look at in a later round draft pick, because he's from Florida International, of course. But I think you guys should really look at. He's not bad. He's really good.
They got Spiller on there.
You want to go to wide receivers that are going to, they're actually going to be here. To have Jahan Dotson, I don't think people understand. To have Jahan Dotson be at a Senior Bowl is really big for them. That's really big for the Senior Bowl, because you don't usually get these top first round picks to go play at the Senior Bowl. So, the bringing Jahan Dotson was a really big pick. And you're going to be able to see a lot of these guys. The two SMU guys are just two speeders. Like I mean, just burners at SMU. If you guys know how SMU plays football, they play they play very fast. They play very, very fast. They play like an air raid system. Those guys are just straight burners. But you want to have like everybody wants these big wide receiver one.
I think one of my favorite fits for this system, like I was saying earlier, is Isaiah Spiller, just because he would be basically what you were expecting Mike Davis to be. That
Yep.
go get them hard yards, type of runner that could actually have this, make that first man miss and get those yak yards.
Yeah. So like I said, everybody in the comments, you guys, if you guys were sending me all the comments in, make sure when I post this post on Fila, and it'll probably be on Mad Mike too. When I make this post, so go over there and subscribe so you see the community post. Go to the community tab. When I post this post, it is going to be what players you want to see us talk about as an actual show. And we will sit down as a show. We will talk about these guys. You can put in the comments after we finish the stream because it'll actually show up and I have to go through like while I watch it. Or you can, like I said, put it on that community tab. And we would, we'll get with these guys. We'll get together and we'll all talk about the guys you want. Dotson reminds me of a bug receiver just saying, that boy good. Detroit, Jacksonville Giants, Houston all need quarterbacks. It's just not a quarterback draft, man. I'm sorry, but it's just not a good quarterback draft.
I mean, they do need quarterbacks, but it's one of them things. It's like a lot of teams are going to weigh their options. Like, yeah, the quarterback's going to hold just a little bit more weight, even if the class isn't as good, just because of if you hit on a quarterback, you're good for like 15 years. But it's like at the same time, you got to look at it like this D class isn't playing this year, so it's like this D class is probably going to outweigh these quarterbacks.
You talking about for Tennessee, or you talking about for Arkansas? Yeah, that boy from Arkansas is good. I mean, I watch a lot of these guys. Who y'all want in Atlanta? I want Jordan Davis. I think everybody wanted Jordan Davis. I think Jordan Davis is the consensus #1 pick everybody wants for the Falcons.
It's just because that if you got a dominant nose tackle, it can literally transform your defense. Like, it doesn't get the respect it deserves, but it literally is one of the more important roles on your defense.
We run a 3-4, y'all. If
Exactly.
you don't know what that is, that's 3 down linemen and that's 4 linebackers. We run a 3-4. You need a dominant nose guard. You need somebody like Vince Wilfork. You really want to know why that defense was so good up there. They had Vince Wilfork was a dominant force.
That man was insane.
QB I think the only so if you go QB, and this is most people gonna call me crazy. Desmond Ridder is my consensus #1 quarterback all around. I don't think Matt Corral. I don't think any of those guys are as polished.
I like Malik Willis personally, but
yeah, I mean he's another guy. He's another polished guy. Those are two of the most polished guys. But the thing about it is like everybody's gonna look at competition and be like, oh well, Ridder had better competition. So that's the only big thing about that. And then Zappe, Bailey Zappe from Western Kentucky.
I actually do like him too. Yeah,
he's put up a lot of good numbers, man.
The thing about the draft this year, if somebody was to ask me right now, would the Falcons take a quarterback? I genuinely don't think they will, just because this defensive class is so just stacked on talent, and this team has known this since probably 2 years ago. They've known this class was coming out and how good these players was. This is going to be a really defensive heavy type of class. Like I said, you'll get a running back more than likely. You'll get a receiver more than likely if I had to guess. But the majority of it's going to be defense because, the offense, I honestly believe, if you look, the reason why this offense is so crippled without Cordero Patterson is because you have Kyle Pitts, and that's really it out there without Cordero Patterson. Cordero Patterson is really the only other person out there that's taking the pressure off of Pitts. So if you can get like I was saying, like a Drake London or somebody, a big body or possession receiver out there, somebody else out there to pair with Patterson and Pitts, then your offense is straight. You're good. But the defense, you still need those shutdown guys that can go out there and just seal out games for you. that's why I'm so big on Jordan Davis, is because he kind of gives you the best of both worlds. He gives you that pressure up front, and then he gives you that security on the back end. That's why I'm so big on him. And linebacker is another position I can see the Falcons drafting, like, because I hate to tell you, I don't see Debo being. He might be back next year, but after that, I seriously doubt it.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
that's the best
Sorry.
way of putting it, right? And well, I'll just end on that. Grady's a tag team partner. You
Hmm.
need the Brothers of Destruction, and that's basically what you get if you have Jordan Davis. Like I said, we will do an actual draft show. Just want to talk about the senior role for a little bit. We'll do actual draft shows and get into some draft stuff later on in the year. December, January, early January. I mean, it starts moving fast after January. Let's be honest. You get Mobile, and after Mobile, you get into combine, pro days, all of that stuff. So, I mean, it gets fast. It gets hot and heavy with drafts getting into that point. So, thank you, Vlad, for coming on. Go ahead and shout yourself out.
Vlad Tepes 490 over on Twitter. You can follow me. I'm always up to talk football. I absolutely love chopping it up, talking football. Uh, I love coming on the show and talking with you. Like, it's always a blast. And I'm willing to come on and talk anytime you need me to.
Always, always. Thank you guys for coming on. As always, like I said, go subscribe to Fila Sports Podcast on YouTube. For everybody loving Atlanta Sports Podcast, and type that in on the search bar. You'll see us. You'll see Call on Tyrone. You see the Fila logo. But thank you guys for coming on. Thank you guys for watching. We'll definitely be back on. I'm trying to do this every Wednesday. So every Wednesday when you guys want to come talk football on Wednesday night, hopefully me and Vlad will be on here. We'll be able to answer some questions for you guys. Like I said, like we said, Grady Jarrett needs a tag team partner. And that's it, man. Thank you guys. Jordan Davis for no, let's not say Jordan Davis for Atlanta. Let's say Jordan Davis for I need Jordan Davis for New York. And if you know what that means, you're a college football fan. I respect you know what that means. We'll send Jordan Davis to New York. Peace.